This tutorial is going to look at a slightly different way of working using the match color system. So if we jump into Photoshop, I've got this image and then I've got this clock. So I'm going to join them both together. So I pull that tab out and then drag the image across. That's just one way that you can work with it. So now I'm going to cut out this white, so I'll grab one of my selection tools and I'm just going to go select subject and see how good a job it does. It's not too bad. I'm just zooming in, holding down the space bar to move it around, and okay, so there's a few little bits here that I can tidy up. So with the shift key, you can add in this little bit. You can see it's knocked a little bit of white out there. Holding down the option key, so I'm just adding a few of these little bits in. That's not too bad, a little bit rough, but it's pretty good. So now I can come down here to the quick mask tool, hit it, and I've got a mask. I'm going to go Command T, so I might just rotate this slightly. I'll move it about here. Hit return, and now I'm going to for a start, I'm going to mask it into the background. So the way that I would work here is I would click on the layer of the clock. I'm going to change the opacity down, just enlarge up on this for a minute, and just to make sure I've got the selection saved, I'm going to command click on the selection and I'll go select, save selection, go new clock. Okay, I've saved that. Command D just to get rid of it. And now working on this mask, just want to select it. We get the black paintbrush tool and change this so it's a little bit soft, but it's still reasonably hard. I can modify the size a little bit using the left and right square brackets, and then I'm going to paint, and you can see these rocks in the background, so I'm trying to adjust it so that it looks like the clock stops when it hits this ridge of rocks. So we'll see how it's looking. So I'll come back to the clock. I'll now change it up to 100%. So 100%, make sure I'm on the mask, black, and get a bigger brush and I'll just wipe away these other areas. So it roughly looks like it's hitting those rocks and it's ducking down behind it. Now what I'm going to do now is if I click on the layer, the clock, I can see here that it says layer 1. The source file is called land.jpg, so I'm going to go image, adjustments, and then I'm going to go down to match color. Sometimes this can work, sometimes it's a little bit odd, but I'll try it. So I'll go, the source image is land, the layer that I want to use as the source is the background. And so it automatically tries to match them in. If I move this over, I've got a preview where I can switch it off and switch it on. So there's a few things here. So the first one is neutralize with the fade. If I pull it all the way to the right, it goes back to the original image. So this is trying to work between the two. If you think this is too much, you can move a little bit until it gets back to what it was. The color intensity, I'm going to drop down a little bit. luminance is going to be your darkening or your lightening. I kind of, for some reason, no, it's probably not too bad. Leave it like that. So if I switch the preview on and off, you can see that it's definitely trying to integrate it into the scene. But there's a few more things we can do to make it a little more realistic. So I'll go okay with that. I think that's pretty good. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to go between, and with the Option key or the Alt, I'm going to click it so it clips. And on this layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the eyedropper tool, go to the background layer. I'm going to select an area. So now back on that top layer with the paintbrush. Okay, I'm going to just paint over this image. Oh, it looks like the eyedropper color's changed. So I'll take it back to the brown, make a bigger brush and paint this in. So I'm just painting this solid color. Now what I've got here is I can come in and I can change that to color. Okay, obviously with the opacity, you can knock back the opacity and you can control it until it feels like it's working. Now, what I'm going to do at this stage is one of the things that's really nice about this technique is that you can use the alpha masks to doctor up areas. So what I'll do is I'm going to start by clicking another adjustment layer, and I'm going to go to the curves. I'm going to do a curve here where I'm kind of dropping everything down. This little option here lets me clip it, automatically does it. So I'm trying to drop it down. If I push it up in the highlight, so this is giving more contrast overall, but if I drop it down a little bit here, it's darkening everything, and then it's kind of just jumping it up in the highlight. So let's have a look. It's maybe a little bit too much that I've dropped it off. It'll be a little bit more subtler. There we go. So it just feels to me like maybe the sun's coming from behind, so this front face would be a little bit darker. You can see on the rocks that the front faces are kind of in shadow a bit, so I'll just darken it up slightly. Now maybe I'll just we'll make it just a little bit more. Now what I can do is I'm going to use the mask again. So this time I'm going to make another adjustment layer. I'm going to get a hue and saturation. I can clip it so it's just working with the clock face, and I'm going to try and pick something that's a bit more of a reddy orange in here. I can bump up the saturation, push a wee bit more to the orange, and with that I'm going to go okay. Now the thing here is that if I paint black, it's going to block it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a nice soft brush, make it a bit smaller, and I'm going to change the opacity down, and I'm going to change the flow, so the way I can kind of build it up a wee bit. And I'm going to just paint in here. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to paint in and leave it so that I get these red highlights. So on this side here, see I'm painting the kind of the clock back to normal. So what it's doing is it's getting this red tinge around the light, like the sun's coming in from this direction. So I've kind of got all that, so now I might bump the opacity and the flow back up to normal. So I can just come in here and paint these areas out fully. If I want to have a look at what the mask is actually doing, I can option, click on the mask, and I can see it. So I can see where it needs to be softened a little bit if I want to. Option, click back on the mask, and it goes back to normal. So I can switch that eye off, and you can see that it's just getting this flicker of red. Now with this, if I want, because I've still got this mask, or I can save it again, so I can command click on the mask. I can save this, so select, save selection. I'll go clock trimmed, Command D, and when I'm on that layer, I'm just going to change it to a smart object, convert to smart object. And now I can come into the filter and I can go to blur, Gaussian blur. So what I'm trying to do is, if I look at these rocks in the foreground, they're not quite so clear. It's the focal depth a wee bit. So if I switch the preview on and off, you can see how much it's kind of softening it. So we'll go with that. And what you'll see now is that you have the smart filter. You can switch on and off, so it's non-destructive. It also has a mask here. So that means that, again, we can come in here and with black, big soft brush, I can paint in, probably if I use a huge brush, that softening will be a bit better. So if I switch that on and off, you can see by looking at the numbers, it's really now only affecting this bottom area. So, sorry. So you can kind of control the focus and the blurs and all sorts of things. Maybe it sticks out a wee bit too much now against the rocks. Could be getting a little bit odd, but this technique is letting you use these. This technique is letting you use these adjustment layers, and just with a little bit more control. So this, that's got the match color, and then we're coloring it, and then we're darkening it, and then using the mask, we're adding another adjustment layer, and we're giving it that color. But of course, all of this stuff can be switched off and takes you back to the original clock. So it's a very non-destructive way to work.